Hi, Jordan Belfort here, and I want to welcome you to the script building technology section of the straight line system. And I think of all the different sections of the straight line technology, this is perhaps in its own way the most important, because what a script really does, it's the well thought out essence of the perfect sale. In other words, it allows you essentially to go to all the past experiences you have with selling a product and to give you all your best lines in exactly the right order, and it basically allows you to keep complete control of the sale and to sound like you know what you're talking about it. In other words, it allows you to answer objections in a way that doesn't take you off the straight line and off into Pluto or Uranus, right? It keeps you in that comfort zone where you're in control of the sale. And from a company's perspective, meaning management, it allows them to systemize their sales force and manage it all in the same fashion. And that's crucial to a company's uniformity and really allows them to grow and expand and duplicate things in a way that, you know, if they walk into one office and there's another office or another office, everyone's doing things the same precise way. And that's important not just, you know, for sales, for results. It's also important for ethical reasons, for regulatory reasons, because, you know, in the absence of scripts, what I've found very often is that salesmen will start, you know, going off the straight line and saying things sometimes that are really, really stupid and sometimes that are really, really not true. And, you know, sometimes salesmen do that, no doubt, you know, they're bad intentioned, but I would say more often than not, perhaps 90% or better of the time, it's not so much that the salesman wants to lie or be deceitful, they just run out of intelligent things to say. And once they run out of intelligent things to say, they start making it up. And they think it sounds good as they're saying it, but when you actually on the other end listening to it, it's hard on the ears. So, you know, what it really does is it gives you the opportunity to really go through an entire sale from A to Z and script out all of the rebuttals. So you can really know all the objections beforehand, because there's only, let's say, 5 or 6 different rebuttals that people ever come up with. And this allows you to create an airtight, logical, and an airtight emotional case to overcome people's objections, to also, you know, create those 3 10s I spoke about on the product, yourself, and your company, and allows you to make those airtight, logical, and emotional cases without lying, exaggerating, or wasting your prospect's time. It also allows you to make effective use of tonality and body language. Remember, only 9% of human communication is the actual words. A lot more of it is, you know, how you say your words, the tone in which you say them, and how you move your body when you're face to face. What it chunks up to at the higher levels is that you're a person worth listening to, that you're a person that can help them achieve their goals, help them get their own outcomes. Okay, and when you have certain tonalities, let's say a tonality of absolute certainty. So let me give you certainty for 1 second here. I say, let me tell you something. You do not understand how incredible this product is. Now, those words themselves are stupid, but let's just say it this way. I can't tell you, you have no idea how incredible this product is. Now I say, I can't tell you how incredible this product is. Which one sounds more compelling? Now, of course, the words are kind of ridiculous, but you saw that when I applied a tonality of certainty to the same set of words, it took on a much greater meaning, and it starts to move you emotionally. Another thing I want you to notice is that when I started talking about, you know, the scripting, and I was very certain, I started sounding certain, notice how I started moving my hands. I started smacking the back of my right hand into my left palm. That's a gesture that I use to create certainty. Now, it happens automatically, but for your purposes, as you're learning to muster that certain tone whenever you want it, you'll notice that every person, especially you, you know, for your own purposes, you have a gesture that you'll do automatically when you want to summon the tone of certainty. So once you identify that gesture, which mine is this, right? If you need to sound certain and you know there's a certain spot in your presentation you want to be absolutely certain about, you can create that tone and assist yourself in creating that tone by using the gesture. In this case, it would be this. So I'd say, watch. You know, this is the most incredible product that we've ever released. Or I say, this is the most incredible product we've ever released. Again, you saw much more power with the latter versus the former, and you notice how I automatically bang my hand into the back of my hand. And for me, you see, so you know, that's my gesture. You might have an entirely different gesture. So what I'm going to ask you to do, and this is also in other elements of the straight line system, where you learn how to link certain gestures to your tonalities. But for the purposes of script building, remember, you're going to see once you have a great script that has a complete introduction, a body, and a close, you're going to see that there are certain specific spots and you need to sound very certain. Other spots where you need to have a tone of sincerity, a tone of reasonableness, whatever those different tones. We'll go through all those tones in a moment. But what you'll see is that when you have a script, you know where they are, you can use them and summon them at the precise moment. Okay? Now, the question really is why my scripts? What are really special about the scripts I write? And, are they better than other scripts? Are they different? And the answer is, well, I think they're a hell of a lot better than other scripts. But most importantly, they're structured in a way that's formulaic. In other words, they can be duplicated for any industry, for any outcome that you want. And I want to give you some very basic structure here, some things that allow you really to adopt your industry to the straight line system. And one of the most important things, remember, about any script is that, and this goes, by the way, let me just digress for a second to Hollywood, because there's the Wolf of Wall Street movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, right? And the script for that movie, when you read the script, because it's a phenomenal script, it doesn't sound like the actors are reading from a script. In other words, the lines are written in such a way that it sounds natural and it's pleasing to the ear. That's an important quality to any script. See, you can never sound like you're reading from a script. So you have to learn to master the art, and again, this is straight line technology, to learn to master the art of reading a script without sounding like you're reading a script. And that can be in person, because of course you don't have a script in front of you when you're selling face-to-face or influencing face-to-face. And when you're on the phone, yes, you can have one. But either way, the most important thing is that you sound natural, and that the words that you say, the syllables, the number of beats, and the rhythm is pleasing to the ear. Okay? So that's one thing that's very, very important with my scripts. Another thing is the scripts that I write are not what's called front-loaded. And what I mean by that is that you don't put every single benefit and every single feature right up front, and you try to blast the person and try to get them to these super high levels of certainty right away. What happens is, typically the way we're built as human beings is that you can't get someone from 0 to 100 like that. There has to be these little stopping off points. You get someone who is maybe not that certain about your product or you, and then you run a language pattern. You go through part of a script and they become more certain. And then you back off, and then you can, again, re-approach them again, make them even more certain. You back off again a little bit later in the conversation, you make them even more certain. In other words, you can raise someone's level of certainty up bit by bit. You can't get it all at once. So what happens is, very often, the mistake I see in poorly written scripts with people that don't know the straight line technique is they front load. They put all the great stuff up front, and then when the person inevitably says, let me think about it, they have nothing else to say to convince that person, to influence that person, that now is the best time to make the decision. So it's very important not to front load, okay? And also, another thing about the scripts that I write as part of the straight line system is that each script is an integral part to an overall system. It's not that there's one script. There might be 5 or 6 different scripts that you go through from the entire process, from A to Z, from open to close. You have your qualifying script, you have your essential body of your presentation, then after you have your rebuttal scripts. And the idea is you need to have 4 or 5 different very cohesive statements, and I want to call them raps, so to speak, that you can make about your product, about yourself. And each statement that you make is designed to raise up someone's level of certainty about the 3 tenths, and at the same time to move them down the straight line from the open to the close. Let me just draw on the board here just so you can see the straight line, right, like this is here. So what happens is while your main script might take you from here to here, let's say from here to here's your qualifying script, right? Here's your main script, and here's the script where you're dealing with rebuttals and objections here. Each of these scripts is integral to the straight line. If any point in time you either, number one, break rapport with the prospect, number 2, say something that's just entirely ridiculous, or it's a lie, and they catch you in a lie, right? Or 3, if you end up saying things that take the person out of the actual influence itself. I mean, you go off into Pluto. You start, like, remember your boundaries here. You have above and below the line. If at any point you don't have your scripts and you just start talking about the price of tea in China, things that aren't actually germane to the influencing situation, you lose the ability to close the deal. So scripts occur here, here, and here, and every one of them is equally important, okay? And when used together, you create that goal. Let's say you can meet that goal, which I laid out earlier, which is to, remember, close anyone who's closable, which doesn't mean everyone, but you close everyone who's closable. Okay? Now let's talk about the different various elements of script writing. And number one, of course, is basic structure for a script. There are three main sections. Let me write them down here for you. And what you have, number one, starts with your intro, your introduction. Okay, this is a short introduction. It's where you, if it's a cold call, or someone that you're calling, or you're in a store situation, someone walks in, it's how you introduce yourself. Okay, but let's go outbound here. Okay, that we're actually calling someone, or walking in someone's door and trying to influence them, right? So you have your introduction first, then that's where you essentially transition from the you introduce yourself, and then you tell them the reason why you're there today. Okay. And then you ask them for permission to qualify them. That's how an introduction, in the short order, that's really how it's broken down to three sections. Let's go through it again. Section A is where you introduce yourself with a greeting. Section B is where you actually tell them the reason why you're there today, the reason why you're there. And C is you ask for permission to qualify. And that's your basic script for any sort of cold call, whether it's in person or over the telephone, okay? From there, you transition into the main body of your script. This is number two, is the body. And typically, your body, okay, the transition from this to this, from your intro to your body, is that after you qualify someone and you uncover what their needs are, what their desires are, what their pain is, right? And you have a pretty good understanding of that, that number one, that your product does fill their need. If it doesn't, you should end the call and not try to close someone who shouldn't be closed. And you also understand that they're financially qualified, meaning that your product could meet all their needs, but they don't have the money. And you don't want to really, it's not fair to really bat someone over the head that doesn't have money, because you just make them feel like crap, because they know that you can benefit them and help them, yet they're stuck in their box because of money. So you don't want to sit there banging your head against the wall trying to close people who don't have money for your product. So the idea is part of in your qualifying section here, where you're asked permission to qualify here, and this is in a separate section of the straight line, in your actual course, where you learn what questions you should be asking, the big picture questions, and as well down to the smaller picture questions, and how you use that system from going from big to small to really identify all of somebody's needs, all their wants, and of course what their pain is and what really is missing from their life right now. And of course, next step would be for your product to be, or your service or your coaching program, whatever it might be that you're offering, would fill those needs and help them get out of pain and into pleasure. Okay? Your transition from here to here is a very simple line, which is, based on everything you just said to me, this program is a perfect fit for you. You follow me? So let me say it again. So your transition would be, and you'll see this is written down in your manual, but just to understand verbally, you'll say, well, based on everything you just said to me, this is definitely a perfect fit for you. Now notice the difference there when I use tonality. When I just said it to you casually, watch, here's casual. Well, based on everything you just said to me, this is definitely a perfect fit for you. That's way number one. Way number two, well, let me say this. Based on everything you just said to me, this is definitely a perfect fit for you. Which one has more power? The second operative word there was definitely, and I said it with a hard D. I was like, definitely a perfect fit for you. That, again, is the tone of certainty, and also a tone of enthusiasm, a tone of confidence, right? And you sound like what? An expert.